Good evening. The Taoiseach was right last week when he said we face a huge challenge in our society in tackling climate change. Tony Killeen is right tonight when he says that that's primarily a cultural challenge, as well as being an opportunity. Our emissions are roughly 70 million tonnes per annum. We know in Kyoto we need to bring it down in 5 years to something like 63 million tonnes per annum. The European 20% target, roughly 55 million tonnes. But we have to expect, and I'm proud and pleased to see the American presidential election heading in the direction it is, that actually we are going to see international agreement, and we're going to be committing with the European Union to a 30% reduction, which brings us down to 48 million tonnes in 2020. Recognising what Fiona says, that that is only the start. To actually listen to what the scientists say, to do what we need to do within my lifetime, we have to get it down into the single teens. And that's a huge challenge. When we look at what's happening, and there's a lag in this issue because energy takes a long time to have an effect, SEI have done a detailed study on where our energy future is going. And energy accounts for 2/3 of our emissions. And rather than that 30% reduction in energy use, which we need to meet our targets, it's forecasting will increase our energy use by 30%. That is the scale of the challenge we face. To get to 48 million tonnes, if you take it from today's levels, year in, year out, over that 15 years, it takes a 3% reduction every year. That's where that figure comes from. That's why it makes sense. The Green Party is proud to be in government. I think our place in government is symbolic of a change in political culture. It's not just because we're in a coalition with PDs and Fianna Fáil, we could as easily, and it's happening, being in a coalition with Fine Gael and Labour. All those parties accepted and recognise that there is actually change in political consciousness. We are trying our best, we are working the hardest to bring in actual real change with a sense of urgency that we see in the issue. Immediately, we started changing the building regulations, 40% better performance in buildings on emissions, with the rolling programme towards 60% reduction towards passive housing. We changed the car taxation system. We changed the regulations to bring in more efficient lighting. I've been able to make a series of changes in ocean energy, biomass energy, and a whole range of different renewable technologies where I actually sense there's a huge opportunity, a huge willingness from the state bodies and the private industry to actually play their part. But as I said, that is not going to be enough. All those changes are actually taken into account in that SEI study that I mentioned. So we're going to have to need to go a lot further. And there is no buyout on this. Andreas Piedbog said yesterday, certainly we can look at changing from in one country adds to the overall mix, but there's no change in the European position in the overall 20% or 30% reduction we're going to make. We cannot expect to go to Europe and say, pleading that we can't do it. Will you let us opt out? We're not going to be able to buy our way out of this one. The regulations being put in place are restricting that down to a small percentage of the overall reduction. So we need change. What change? Well, I'm first of all glad to hear Simon Covey saying loud and clear, Fine Gael is now in favour of carbon tax. I think we do need to put a price on carbon, and I think we need to do that. We are inhabiting the emissions trading sector, we need to do it in the rest of the economy. Everyone is saying we need to change transport, but let us be honest politically, the scale of change, the scale of that problem. Transport emissions are 14 million tonnes at the moment. The Department of Transport and others are predicting that actually rather than reducing down, they're going to increase to 20 million tonnes by 2020. So we need radical change if we're going to meet that target. That needs to be politically honest to say we're going to have to switch money out of the roads programme into the sort of public transport projects that may actually deliver some of that reduction. Dublin City Council are here tonight with their climate change plan. They talk on page 5 about our intelligent transport system in the city centre. Their proposed actions say nothing about getting rid of the totally unintelligent transport system we have in the city centre. For 10 years, I was a councillor there myself, we've been saying we should change the one-way traffic system because it really does make a miserable place for pedestrians and cyclists. Let's set that a target to change, political change, that all political parties can agree with Dublin City Council, so we start here in our city centre showing what is possible in terms of change. And it would make for a better Dublin city centre and an intelligent transport system. Are we so blind to change or the need for change that we can't see the reliance on mass production of livestock for export or intervention is a sacred cow that we can't touch? Can we not start debating in the political system the possibilities for change and actually providing Irish agriculture with a sense of pride and future and promise in terms of delivering that alternative products that we can grow, alternative carbon sinks that we can store in our Irish farms? So we need those changes. We need changes in our planning system. Again, it's not politically palatable or easy to say that this dispersed form of population growth, this is allowed to continue compared to what we know we need, which is a much more compact, high-quality urban planning system. But we need that, and we need it quickly. We've already lost the opportunity in the many years of not actually making a change. But that's no excuse not to start changing now. It's interesting the reaction to this issue has changed recently. For so long it was doubting the science, because people are fearful of change. They doubt it. They threw doubts into the scientific endeavour. They're not doing that anymore because it doesn't stack up. People are not stupid. We can sense that there hasn't been a single frost effectively this winter. So we can see it for ourselves. So that argument no longer stacks up. What's now happening is some people who are afraid of change are saying, oh, it's a huge cost, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be too expensive. And that's what you see in all these papers, obsession. But oh, it's going to cost 500 million for this or 1,000 million for that. As if the alternative cost isn't far greater. As if as a country which consumes 165,000 barrels a day, that's 10 pints of oil for every one of us, each and every day. We don't have a huge cost and economic incentive for switching away from those fossil fuels. And it's the same in gas. But I go back to this issue of change and cultural change, because I think Tony's right. We're not there as a people yet. We need to urgently get there. We have a cabinet subcommittee on climate change, which is right. Tony's right. The Taoiseach saying that we need to put, and the Taoiseach that we put every effort into now into this area, looking to see what are we going to do, how are we going to do it, in all those areas of agriculture, transport, planning, building regulations, and so on. But really what we need as politicians is to lead a cultural change, so that people actually see this as a positive opportunity, that they see it as something that's a natural development of ourselves as a people, something that we can do. I think we can do it. I have no problem seeing the way forward in the energy area so we can have a good quality of life, have an equitable quality of life, and actually make our additions first. But it will only come when the conventional wisdom changes, when the majority of our people change. Tonight is important, because to achieve such a cultural change, we need to start talking about it, start discussing it with each other politically, so that people actually understand the complexities and understand the opportunities. Thank you.